back to my channel, or welcome for the first time. My name is Gift, but you can also call me Giftee Love. This is a very different setup for me, darling. I'm in my bedroom. This is my bed. I thought I'd get comfy to just make it a real relaxed, chilled video to talk about The Queen's Gambit, a show I recently watched. I find it really hard to watch shows that I haven't already watched. So watch something new and actually finish it, and I actually did, because there's only 7 episodes, so I actually did. I'm saying casual and cute and chilled, but I feel very passionate about some of the things I'm going to be talking about. Anyway, so today's video I'm going to be talking about The Queen's Gambit, just a review, kind of what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it. The didn't like list is a bit longer. I'm very critical, and that's also really fine. But I'm just going to talk about what those things are. I guess before to begin, I actually can't speak today. Before I start, there are going to be spoilers, I guess, because I'm going to be talking about the show. So if you haven't watched it, you might not want to watch this, or you may just want to watch this to kind of get a feel for the show. I saw spoilers, I guess, a little bit on Twitter before I watched it, but it didn't really spoil it for me. It was just more, it just gave me like oh, okay, black people can't have nice things, so let me just, now I get it, and I know what to expect from this show. Alright, so let's begin. I'm looking at my laptop. I literally wrote down bullet points, so I'll make sure I cover everything. Also worth mentioning, all opinions are my own, obviously, so if you have a problem with them, you don't agree with them, you don't like them, that's very okay. You don't have to be mean or say anything in the comments. You can just keep it to yourself and be really happy with your own opinion, but this is mine because it's on my channel and it's me saying it. I guess before I go into what I liked, what I didn't like, something that I found really interesting about this whole thing, and I guess the trend for shows and things going forward, is how I think it seems like one of the first things people ask after they watch a show like this is kind of like, oh, is it like, the first thing you kind of want to know is it based on a true story? And if it is, like, who is this person? I want to know everything about them. And in some ways it feels like people want to like kind of find this person and like then make them into like girl boss posts, or like just in general, like just find out who that person is and kind of idolize them. And I think it comes from a place of wanting to talk about forgotten people in history, but I feel like it's really interesting that like Netflix series and movies now, there's a trend towards it being based on a true story or based on novels, or just based on something, not original concepts and ideas. Not to say that there aren't original concepts and ideas out there of things, but I just find it interesting to like, I don't know, especially around Queen's Gambit, see this kind of need for, oh my god, I hope this person's real, I mean, maybe because the character's compelling, but like, I want this to be a real person, and like, I'm so inspired by this story. For those of you that don't know, it is based on a novel. It's a fictional novel though. So for those that wanted this real person that they could follow and love, Beth doesn't exist as a real person, but I'm sure there are many Beth-like people out there that, not even just in chess, but in like kind of male-dominated fields, have kind of really gone out here and done their work. So I found it really interesting. I thought it was something that I would share with you about kind of the trend in the way kind of shows are changing and TV series are changing, and people kind of wanting it, or especially when they get connected to a character, wanting it to be real or based on something for them to really enjoy it. Anyway, if you hear background noise, neighbours or whatever, just manage and firm it, because this is the circumstance of living in quarantine life, as if I have a studio that I'm filming in. Anyway, so good things about Queen's Gambit that I enjoyed: beautiful gowns, wonderful gowns. I thought the like costumes and just the kind of the set design, all of that was really, really awesome, very immersive, just really captivating. I wouldn't like, the outfit's obviously not my style, but like I thought they put a lot of effort into like making everyone look like they stepped out of that time, but kind of also giving it a modern, fashionable flair. Same with the set design. I thought it was really, really cool. I also loved the treatment of the film, so kind of like filters and the way they like, and not just the treatment in it, the visual looking of the film, I thought was really, really cool. Apparently one of the directors that worked on Logan, and apparently those two films are like very visually stunning, and like the treatment of them is really, really good. So the treatment of Logan, and so you can see in Queen's Gambit, like you can see that the guy, like when you watch them together, when you watch them side by side or see them, you can see like visually that the guy has a very specific eye. Oh, laptop don't. Another great thing about Queen's Gambit was the shots. So one of my favourite shots in the film was when at the end where she was in the Russian hotel, and it kind of, the camera followed, kind of went around the hotel past all the windows and kind of went round. I don't know how to describe it, but I thought it was really, really cool. And I thought it was just shot really beautifully, and I really enjoyed that. So overall, it was just like a visually pleasant to watch. Really lovely. The costumes, the dressing of the rooms, the shot, everything. Gorgeous. I really, really enjoyed that. To be honest, some of the like house scenes are giving me inspiration. I was just like, oh, I really like kind of the way they did that wallpaper and decor back then. There's some like bits I'm like, well, that's really interesting. I mean, I happen to sit behind a wallpaper wall, but like kind of being more, the way they were really daring with their principles, like everywhere, kind of almost maximalism. I thought that was really cool, and so it gave me some inspo. So those are the things I liked. You don't hear anything that I disliked about the video. Now is the time, about the video, about the show, then now's the time to click out. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe. So what I didn't like about Queen's Gambit is several things. I guess this makes sense. Okay, so the book, it was based off of a book written in 1983, and I feel like they didn't modernize it in any way. And I'm not saying that if it was written in the 1950s, now they all have to have iPhones. That's not what I'm getting at. It's more the fact that there were like character tropes and like things in the book that don't really make sense, especially to a modern audience watching it. And it felt like they didn't make changes that wouldn't impact the story but would make the characters more realistic. They didn't like make the changes to accommodate that. They like kind of stuck to the book, but in some ways where it's like, why did you choose to do that? You could have changed that, and the story would have remained the same. In fact, it would have made it better. I hope that makes sense. But I feel like the book was written in 1983 with its tropes and its ways of thinking, and it wasn't modernized in the like, kind of the way to develop certain characters, which I'll get to in a minute. It wasn't modernized in that way, which made it feel kind of just like, oh, in 2020 you're still doing this? So that's something I didn't like, but it will make more sense as I go through the things. Secondly, this is just a cynical person in me, but it was giving me girl boss, hashtag kind of feminism kind of vibes. It was like, I think if Beth Harmon ended up being like a real like person that existed, like it was based on like an historical figure, I feel like all the girl boss feminism pages would have had her all over there. They would have made a Beth Harmon shirt. They would have, I mean, they probably will still, but like, I feel like she was very much, the way they were framing her in parts of the film, when most of the film was definitely around that we women can do, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, it was just a bit like, it just felt sometimes a bit forced. It's like, in that like, oh, you know, we as girls, we can do whatever we want, and you know, look, in a man's world, look how we're like getting across. I don't know, it sounds really horrible, like I'm like, is that not a good message? But it's just, in some parts it felt a bit forced. It just felt a bit like, okay, I get it, she's a woman and she's doing stuff, that's great. And like, even in the film, she acknowledged, not the film, the series, she acknowledged that like, you know, even people talking to her were just amazed at what she was doing, not because it was good, but because she was a woman. And it kind of felt like the series itself was doing that to her, which was weird. I was like, yeah, anyway, it was giving me very much hashtag girl boss, which I didn't really enjoy. I was just like, she's good at chess, like, and she's a girl, let's keep it going. And that was a major plot point of that drove the character in that a woman surviving in a male world or a male dominated industry. But I don't know, it was just giving me that vibe, and I feel like they were definitely, when like marketing or just maybe potentially like kind of trying to put this film out there, that was definitely the vibe. They're like, wow, look at this woman thriving in chess, we can do whatever. And I was just like, yeah, we can, but I don't know, it's just, that's that vibe. Next, I didn't really enjoy the fact that this, alongside many other films that cover not just women but like people achieving in or being really clever or genius in certain things, that's insinuated that if you're smart, you are also, the only way you can be smart or good at something is if you are like addicted to some sort of drugs or are taking something to help you up your game. I feel like that's a really old and negative trope about people that are clever or smart or work really hard to be good at something, and that they kind of use drugs to assist that, because I think, well, that's not true. And I think a lot of people are really clever and really smart and really good at what they do because of like hard work and diligence. It isn't always, it's not drugs that get them there. And I think if you looked at films, the way they present these smart people is always in association with either drugs or like there's something mentally wrong with them. That's why they're smart. It isn't because they've worked hard or trained or practiced. And I think we as a society, we know that people that are smart or people that are good at something have practiced. But if you're just basing it on films and like just, I think in 2020, I didn't expect to see another series or film that delves into if you're smart, it's because you have this weird thing going on with you. It's either you're doing drugs that helps up your game, or you're mentally different to other people, so therefore you can really good. Sometimes people are just good at what they do because they practice and they work really hard. So I didn't really enjoy seeing that as part of the narrative as to why she was doing well and why she was getting through all the challenges that she was going through, because I think that kind of contradicts with the whole hashtag girl boss thing, because it's making her seem like, oh, she's only a woman and she's only good at chess because she takes the drugs. So I thought that was a bit dodge. Beth's foster mum, oh no, actually no, not even the foster mum, Beth's mum character, she okay, so I didn't really understand Beth's mum's character, and that may be because according to articles that I've read, the mum wasn't like a really developed character in the book. She was literally one paragraph and that was it. And so Netflix kind of developed her character. But I kind of feel like they should have just left it because they didn't develop her character enough to really give us any sort of insight into anything. All that we really understand about Beth's mum is that she dealt with mental health issues, and that she was finding it difficult to look after Beth on her own, and also that she gave Beth really bad advice sometimes, and kind of all that problematic advice to give to a child or a young woman, or a young child in general. But we don't, and that she was good at maths, and that's it. And I'm just like, I don't know if that's enough to warrant the kind of character development they gave Beth's mum. I feel they should have just left it at the one paragraph and just given her like a keynote in the like kind of something in the first episode and left it, because I feel like the bits that they added didn't really give me much more, or didn't give the character much more development. So it felt like, why are we doing this? I mean, the way that like each episode, or at least most of them, started with like a scene flashback of time with her mum, or there were some scenes where it started with Beth's mum giving her this advice. I really liked the way they like positioned that, the way they cut it when it was like Beth's mum giving her the advice, and then it would be like cut, Queen's Gambit cut, and it's like to now. I really liked the way that was composed, but I don't know, it just felt like character's mum was a bit of a confusing figure. And again, I was like, it's not really portraying mental health in the best way, but it was just like, what's Beth's mum's character? She's crazy, and she's good at maths. Again, it's like, what's the narrative? What are we trying to craft here? So, Jolene, the character, the only black kind of main character. I have a lot to say about her, and about how she was written and about how she was treated in it. I mean, to be honest, in 2020, you really just putting a sassy black friend character in a Netflix series? Really? Come on. A sassy black friend in 2020. Anyway, so Jolene was Beth's best friend when she was in the orphanage. They kind of grew close while she was there, and it's assumed, even though they don't keep in touch, it's assumed that they have this relationship, and like basically they don't keep in touch throughout the film, but then she comes back in the end and saves her and makes her sober and is a magical friend that made everything okay. The end. So basically what I didn't like was the fact that Jolene's character was very two-dimensional. She was literally the sassy black friend. That's all they gave her. And the fact that they also kind of went into the kind of black female savior stereotype of like, it's okay if things go wrong because your black friend, or, you know, I've been seeing lots of narratives about how black women are going to save us, black women are the saviors of the world, like they're going to, First of all, leave us alone. Second of all, we are not here to save you. Like we want to rest. We want to relax. We are kind of doing too much. We need to chill. We're not here to save you. And it felt like Jolene's character was very much a plot device to drive Beth's narrative and to save her when she needed it. And she's only really used in scenes where it was relevant for Beth. Jolene didn't really have a story that could stand on its own. She was literally only there for Beth, and nothing about her life mattered because she was there for Beth, which I hated and was awful to see. The wig in the last episode, or the one when she was older, the last few episodes, the wig that they put her in, it was okay, but I was just like, why? The actress herself was gorgeous. I think I've seen some tweets about people saying she stole every scene she was in. She didn't steal it. She worked the scene that she was in, and she purposely drew for your attention. She didn't have to teeth nothing. She just made that role her own, and I'm really, it's amazing. She was brilliant. I just wish they gave her more than just being this plot device to some white lady on her story journey. I think that's what going off a bit of a tangent, that's what irritated me the most. It's like it was literally just a white woman's journey through something, and then just these peripheral characters without a life that just revolved around making sure this white woman was okay on her journey. And I really didn't enjoy that. I didn't find that fun. It made the whole series for me kind of unenjoyable, because like, wait, so I just watched this, I watched 7 hours of this white woman's journey to achieving what she wanted to in chess, and I got nothing else from that story at all. And so I was like, oh, so that irritated me at the end. But that's going off on a tangent. Another thing I didn't like about Jolene's character, not because of the actress or the like acting, but because of the way they wrote the character, was the fact that she didn't have nice things because she worked hard or didn't. Like, for example, in the like last episode, she was saying that she's a paralegal because she got through for a diversity scheme, and she has this car from this married solicitor that she's not really interested in, but he got her this car. So first of all, I was irritated that Beth was like, oh, I didn't know a paralegal paid enough for you to get this car. Like, fuck you. Maybe it does. Maybe I saved. Maybe I hustled. Like, I thought that was a really ignorant and horrible question, considering I'm the black friend coming to save the day. Like, don't be fucking rude. Secondly, I don't really like the fact that, like, they made the black character not only two-dimensional, but, like, she only has nice things because it was handed to her for the diversity scheme, and also because this white guy bought her this car. And I think, again, it's just adds to that thing of, like, her not being her own person and her ability to have agency and do anything. And I was reading in the 1960s, and things were really tough for black people when it comes to getting jobs and employment, and diversity and inclusion, or like whatever schemes helped people get their foot in the door. But I found that really interesting that the way they wrote her, the only sort of backstory we get about her it's all shaped around white people doing stuff for her, and the fact that she couldn't have got anything herself or done anything herself. I didn't really like that. They didn't give her agency. Also, like, in regards to Jolene's character, I don't really approve, like, I think Beth's reactions to Jolene's life when it comes to, like, kind of when they were in the orphanage, the fact she won't be adopted, but also just like things that Jolene tells her, her reaction leaves much to be desired, because I think when it comes to friendship, it was very, very much one-sided in Beth's favour for to drive the plot and the narrative, and maybe for other things. And so it just felt like when Jolene was potentially like giving a bit more, doing a bit more, Beth wasn't matching the energy, which made what friendship even more one-sidedness, which makes it confusing as to why Jolene was there for her and wanted to do all these things for her when Beth hasn't really done that much for her, basically. So yeah, overall, Jolene didn't get the justice she deserved. She didn't get her flowers. I was just so surprised to see that, because apparently in the, let me just check actually the article. Yeah, according to this article, in the book, Beth shows more vulnerability to Jolene in the book. Yeah, so she's not this stiff upper lip character in the book. She's a bit more open, and they have a bit more, I think they show a bit more of their relationship, and they're a bit more emotionally, she's a bit more emotionally vulnerable with her than she's in the show. But just overall, I think it was like, we need to talk about how poorly written Jolene was as a character. So, you know, this film, oh, keep calling it a film, whatever. This series had it all. Not only did it have a sassy black friend character, it also had a gay best friend character, which they conveniently put in. So, I mean, first of all, the fact that there was even a hint of a romantic relationship between this reporter, I can't remember his name, the reporter and Beth, was inappropriate, because like when it was supposed to be happening, she was way too young and he was way too older, so it was like really inappropriate, the interaction anyway. And then they're trying to say like, oh, I was just swept up by how amazing. Relax, don't be a pedo because you're amazed by talent. That does those things, it doesn't make sense. But anyway, the way they writ it is, you know, they never said explicitly that it was gay, and obviously in the 1960s it wasn't okay to be gay, so he never actually says it. But I think the way that they show he's gay was just like, oh, come on. There's no other way you could have shown he was gay. It had to be his boyfriend and him wearing like tight shorts and sunglasses and him saying and winking. That was the giveaway. I was like, you couldn't think of any other way to show in the story that he was a gay character. Cool. And then in the end, even though she hasn't been in touch with him since that time where he was taking that picture, he shows up to her shows up for her in Moscow and supports her, and apparently he's organised this whole thing. I just think, again, Bev has done nothing to earn or even elicit this reaction or this favour, or there's no incentive to do all these things for her. So maybe people are doing it out of the kindness of their heart, but humans aren't like that. I know, like, it's fine to assume humans have good intent, and it's fine to be like, people may have been wronged, but they want to right it. But I think it's just, it felt like it just didn't make sense as to why he had turned up in Moscow and wanted to help her and wanted to comfort her and wanted to do all these things. I'm like, what did she do to earn it? What was the point? And I think to some extent it was partly this narrative of kind of, look, despite everything, you've made it to this really amazing stage, and we're going to support you to really get to that to really complete this championship, to get to that level that you've been working so hard for. We believe in you and we're so inspired by your story that we want to help you, which is fine, but it just didn't feel earned. None of the, like, when she was, like, her getting good at chess felt earned because she was working hard and she was sacrificing a lot to get there, but like the characters' love and attention and kind of favors and all the good things they did for her didn't feel earned, basically. Especially the kind of gay best friend trip that ended up happening in the end. So she was trash. Like, Beth as a character, like her behavior was trash. Like, I think the cutting back to the flashbacks, understanding of her like orphanage and like her childhood and stuff, I think that's where we're supposed to get the sympathy from. But I was finding it really hard to feel sympathy for her because she was trash. Like, and I there's, this trope comes up in TV a lot of, kind of these like savants that are like so smart and so dedicated that they just have to go through it and they have to sacrifice everything. And I think usually it's a male character that like just pushes everything aside and doesn't care about anything in their pursuit of what they care about, and they made it a woman, and that's what's supposed to make it different. But I don't think it makes it any less shitty treating people in your life like crap and not caring about people, because there's like elements of like, potentially the way she grew up or stuff that happened to her numbed her to be able to make those emotional connections. But behaving and being nice to people and treating them with common courtesy, I think, is something that I don't see why she couldn't do that. That was just a really strange thing for me. That I was just like, okay. She was trashed. She was trash, and like, I get she was traumatized, but that's not an excuse to be a trash person. So I'm telling you people there that like, we are all traumatized in some way, but it's not an excuse to be trash. Kind of back a little bit to another point I was making. I really don't understand the last scene where Benny, the guy, what's his other name? All the men in her life basically came together to support her and was like strategizing the chess and came on the phone and was like doing all this stuff to do. I was like, why? Because first of all, the other guy that stayed with her, I can't remember, the one that said it was the person that she beat in her like first open chess tournament. It was the person that she beat. I can't remember his name. I should find that name, shouldn't I? Hold on. Okay, I need to make my point properly. So Harry Beltic was a kind of basically kind of a love interest. She wasn't interested, but he was in love or really liked, admired her, stayed with her for a bit to train her, but she was like kind of ungrateful and kind of knew it all, whatever, and they like had sex once or whatever. Anyway, basically, like, the way she treated him was so trash, and I was just like, why the fuck are you helping her at the end? Like, I really don't understand. And like, he came back several times. He visited her house, tried to call her. She even came to a tournament because he said he was worried about her, and she just treated him like trash. And so again, like, them all coming together at the end to help out, I was just like, why? What is the incentive? What is the point? Why would they do that? It just didn't feel earned. I was just like, but what? Why? Why? Was my question. It didn't feel like there was anything in the narrative, the story, the character. There's nothing that made sense as to why they would support her at this moment. But they did, and it was part of the narrative. Woohoo, friendship forever. I think it's great. There's this bit of there's a scene where her and Benny have sex, and basically as soon as he's like jizzed or whatever, he's talking about chess stuff, and she's like, "Is that all you can think about?" And he was just like, "Yeah, I guess." And she like kind of took the covers and turned around and said good night. I was just like, hold on a second, have some character consistency. So you're telling me the person that basically did the same thing to Harry in bed just got a chess book out, started reading, like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, I don't care, go away. And like, when Bunny does the same thing, she's like, oh, that's so annoying. It's like, maybe it was ironic, like, oh, she did that, she just did that, and when it's done to her, she doesn't like it. But I just thought, I was like, surely, like, the way you've written this character and everything she does, him talking about chess straight after sex really shouldn't bother her, because she doesn't care. She's like, her mind's on the prize. The whole thing is that she doesn't care about anything else. She's constantly thinking about her mind is on the prize. So for him to, it's not like it's uncharacteristic for him to talk about chess, and it's not uncharacteristic for her to like kind of do something basic, a life event that's really significant, but only focus on chess. So her reaction in that moment just felt like a real like, why would she react like this? Like, why is she upset that he's talking about chess? What did she want a romantic cuddle, or do you want to talk about how good the sex was? Like, it doesn't feel like something she'd want to do anyway. So that irritated me. I was like, why? Like, him talking about chess is the only thing that makes sense about this fucking scene, and you getting angry at it it doesn't make any fucking sense. Cleo. So she was a character that didn't exist in the book. Hold on, she didn't exist in the book. She was only in this series, and people think that she was potentially a secret KGB spy sent to kind of foil the last game. Whatever. Her as a character was whatever. Another female character, showing that we're in this together. But the stuff that she said, first of all, the French accent, I don't know. And the stuff she was saying about France, I don't know. But the stuff she was saying about models, I thought was really, really horrible. I think she was talking about how models are insipid and they're just vessels for clothes to be draped on. I was just like, first of all, people, like, again, like, the trope that models are dumb and they have nothing going for them is long since and always has been debunked. But like, with the modern model figures that we have now, I just think that was just such a horrible thing to say, such a weird thing to say, such a stupid thing to say. I was like, why? What purpose did that serve? It was almost, it felt like Cleo's whole character just felt like one big, you're not like other girls, Beth, you're different because you think, and you use your brain. I was just like, okay, like, I just, like, models doing fashion and walking catwalks doesn't mean that, like, that whole thing just gave me a fucking headache. I was just like, she was just saying, the thing she was saying about models was just so out of pocket. I was just like, you're like, who, like, what have they done to you, bro? Like, relax, actually relax. It was just it was a lot, and she just didn't need to, and it was just like, I get that Beth's not like other girls because she uses her brain, but like, just, you don't have to say all of this. You can just say, I really like how smart you are. I mean, I admire that. You don't have to do all the rest of it, It was all just too much. So Cleo's character rubbed me the wrong way because of those things. So yeah, that's Cleo. The last couple of points, the anti-communism thread throughout was a lot. I mean, I think they'll try and display stuff like the Red Scare and, anti-Russian propaganda that probably still exists to some extent today. It does exist to some extent today. But it was a really, they really hammered that home throughout it. It was a bit uncomfortable for me. I think I've seen some articles that mention this, but like, Borgov's uncharacteristic niceness at the end really threw me off, because again, because of the anti-communist messaging, because they set him up to be this hard, only can concentrate on chess, like, he's very serious. He's very kind of plotting and calculated. For him to just stand up at the end and be like, oh, you're great, you're amazing, oh, I'll clap for you. I was just like, what? Again, why would you spend this series doing that to the character and kind of adding all these things to him to make him kind of come across this way, just for him to uncharacteristically do that at the end? Like, what does that add? Is it so we can all have a happy ending and all be happy and all clap together? Like, what purpose did that serve? It just feels like a waste of time setting all that up. Is it like, was the bigger message to say that, despite all the anti-communist messaging, all these things about Russia, actually Russian people are nice? If so, why? Like, you didn't need to do all of that. I was just confused. I think there's just a lot of things in this that either irritated me, angered me, or confused me. And Borgov's uncharacteristic, yeah, oh, well done, yeah, woo, yeah, you beat me, I'm so happy, was a very weird moment for me, and it didn't make sense. I didn't understand. It kind of goes against the narrative that they wrote for the whole thing, and maybe they'll try and do something big with that, but it was just irritating. And lastly, Mrs. Wheatley died from hepatitis. So again, Beth never liked the Mexican boyfriend that Mrs. Wheatley had, because she said she doesn't have a good feeling about him or something like that. She just didn't like him because he's a used car salesman or something. I don't know. It felt very kind of, it felt a little bit like discriminatory, prejudice, kind of xenophobic kind of situation. But the fact she died from hepatitis was weird. I was like, why hepatitis, was the significance of that. But when I looked up, hepatitis is a sexually transmitted disease, and so we're assuming that she got it from the Mexican boyfriend, and then just died. And maybe they were trying to say like, well, at least the last few days of her life, she like really lived her life and enjoyed it, and then she died from hepatitis when the Mexican boyfriend went to Oaxaca. And I don't know, it just felt, again, for me, it was just strange, weird, didn't understand. It's like, her dying hepatitis from her Mexican boyfriend, what was the significance of that? Why that specifically? I'm just trying to understand here. I can't really find the articles that go into detail about that whole section of it as to like whether that was in the book or not, but it just all felt really stinky to me that they chose that particular storyline for Mrs. Wheatley, and like how the end of her life came, and just that whole thing, just, it was smelly. Maybe I'm looking into it too much, but it was smelly. But that's just me, I don't know. But I really enjoyed Mrs. Wheatley's character. She seemed really deep and sobering. And I was kind of scared at first. I thought she was going to be really manipulative and like rip her for all her money, but she didn't in the end. But I thought that would have been a really interesting avenue to go down. So, you know, if they ever do it again. Yeah, so I think that's it. So that is my full review of The Queen's Gambit. Overall, would I recommend watching it? Yes, because we're in quarantine and 7 hours to kill was 7 hours to kill. No, I'm kidding. I think it was you know what, I enjoyed watching it. I think I was irritated at the end because I was like, I've watched, you know, there's a lot of narratives about white women achieving their dreams. I've seen enough of them. I don't want to see any more. And it kind of, I don't know. I mean, I should have looked at the front cover of it, should have told me what I need to know. But I felt like when I watched it, I was like, oh, I have just watched 7 hours of this now. Crap. I don't know. And I mean, in a way, it's like, what did I expect from watching it? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. But, that irritated me, but apart from that, it irritated me. Give us something else. It's giving me the same, but with a different theme. One day it's climbing the corporate ladder, and this time it's chess. The next time it will be the best dog sitting company owned by a woman. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just like, give me something else. But I felt like it was like, if I focused on Beth as a character, okay, because I want to say it's well written, but that would. Overall, I would watch it. It was entertaining. I enjoyed watching it. Like, the story was gripping and I was like following along, so I enjoyed it for that reason. But like, character-wise, story-wise, I'm a bit shaken whether I'd recommend it for it being well written, because there were just some real big holes and just dodgy bits for me, and like watching it, that kind of took me out and made me not be able to enjoy it. So yeah, I would say like, it's up to you, depending on what you want. If you want to watch a girl boss achieve her dreams, then this is probably the perfect series for you. If that's not really your bag, and you want developed characters and everyone to be a developed character and for there to be consistency amongst those characters, this may not be the one for you. Alright, thanks so much. So this is like the second thing I reviewed. That's a show. Yeah, the only other thing I reviewed that's like Netflix or whatever is a Madam C.J. Walker Netflix series, which I really, really enjoyed. But like, when I read up a bit more about it, I was just like, ugh. But again, that speaks to like, kind of, can we watch shows for that, just like the merit? Do we have to like, how do I say, like, does everything, like, because we're basing things on true stories and rewriting true stories, they're kind of Googling things after and seeing whether the things don't match up kind of sometimes can ruin things. So like, what does that say about, you know, stories and series and movies going forward, in that like, do they have to be completely historically accurate, or can they be embellished? But sometimes when they're embellished, not embellished in the right way. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but Googling that one, finding out more about that was disheartening and irritating, and not irritating, but like, just like, oh, okay, so they did like this. So it's just, yeah, it's really hard about when it's things based on a true story, because, you know, you can kind of, you want to be a bit creative with the plot and be like, oh, what would happen if this, and all this stuff. But it's just being careful, because this is real people's lives, and a lot of people, despite me being really intrigued to want to Google stuff like for Queen's Gambit or for that, a lot of people sometimes are just taking these Netflix stories for verbatim. And so what narrative are we telling people, and is it a narrative that is good to be telling people? Excuse me. I could go on and a whole another thing about like, is it Netflix's problem, blah, blah, blah. But I won't, because you've stuck it out this long to see all my opinions, and I appreciate you. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, you are officially a Giftee Love Mega Cube, which means you bring seasoning to everyone in your life, and I appreciate you. So remember to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know if you like this new setup, if you want me to film in this setup more often, and I will see you on the next video. And if there's any things you want me to watch, even though I don't like watching films, if there's anything you want to watch or things that you want to get my opinion on, let me know down below. I will eventually do a Pretty Little Lies one because I love Pretty Little Lies so fucking much. Anyway, I will see you very soon. Bye!